Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Chapter 31. Only 70% of strength. The actual battle between Lu Yu and Shengshan Shokan just now made everyone fascinated and dazzled. Although most people didn't understand it at all, it didn't prevent them from being surprised by the strength of the two. They just felt that if they replaced themselves, no matter which one of the two was facing, they would only have one move in 1 second. The strength of these two is not comparable to what they are now. To beat Teacher Shokan in one fell swoop. That move just now was so cool, I didn't react at all. I thought Lu Yu was going to lose. He, Hinamori almost cried. Hinamori Momo blushed and did not deny that she had been worried about Lu Yu just now. She is one of the few reincarnations who can clearly see the general battle trajectory of the two. So, when Lu Yu appeared to be hit, Hinamori's face changed immediately. In fact, Abarai Renji, Hinamori Momo, and Hitsugaya Toshiro have been greatly improved because of Lu Yu's encouragement and guidance. It was only because Lu Yu's performance was too dazzling that it overshadowed their brilliance. Because the people they compared were too monstrous, the three of them didn't realize that their strength had surpassed their classmates by a lot. They could barely understand the offensive and defensive rhythm of Lu Yu and Shokan just now, and this alone is not something that ordinary Sanwusheng can do. Especially Hinamori Momo, after receiving the most meticulous and personal guidance from Lu Yu, is like reborn, and his strength has improved a lot every day. In particular, the improvement in kendo slashing skills is extremely obvious. Such a move is very much like a big brother's trick. The amateurs were having fun, while the experts looked at the doorway. When Rukia in the high place saw Lu Yu's last move, her pupils shrank, and she was extremely surprised. She had seen with her own eyes how powerful Byakuya Kuchiki's Shunhua was. Byakuya Kuchiki can become the captain of the 6th division at a young age, not only because of his noble status and good character, but also because of his superhuman strength. One trick, Rukia has seen it many times, but every time it is very powerless. Shunpo, his big brother, is very famous throughout Seoul society, and the ultimate move developed on this basis is very powerful. This trick is enough to become a natural mode for ordinary Shinigami. Even though Lu Yu's schooling time was shorter than his own, he had already been exposed to this aspect of cultivation, and even developed a killer move similar to Shunhua. Even Lu Yu's moves looked a little more perfect. Rukia, who has always worked hard to perform perfectly at the Kuchiki family, has a bold idea in her heart. If the adopted brother sees such Shunpo, will he be surprised and change his face? Matsumoto Rengaku, who was hiding and probing with Reiatsu, was the vice captain. She knew that guy's style. Although today's Lu Yu has a level no less than that of an official on Shunpo, it is too difficult for that face-paralyzed man to be shocked. However, this talent may really surprise Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of the 6th division. Anyway, Matsumoto Rengaku was really surprised. This Shengshan Shokan is also an old acquaintance. Otherwise, she would not have been well informed all the time and would always know information about Lu Yu. In terms of strength, although this guy has been out of the battle sequence for a while, he still has the foundation of regressing. In such a short period of time, Lu Yu was able to defeat the opponent, at least at the level of an officer. My old friend Ichimaru Jin, who graduated early that year, joined the team as the chief officer. Also, it looks like Lu Yu hasn't used all his strength. This makes me terrified. This Lu Yu's talent is really terrifying, and he is about to catch up with his old friend Ichimaru Jin. Sure enough, the previous decision was correct. Now that Shiba Isshin has just arrived in the 12th division, it is the time when talents are needed, and this Lu Yu must not let go. At the end of the final assessment, Lu Yu won the first place as expected. This result was also expected by everyone, and there was no suspense. As far as his strength is concerned, he has to be the first in the cultural assessment, which is beyond doubt. Lu Yu, who had long sensed the existence of Matsumoto Rengaku, came to a secluded and uninhabited grove on purpose. Matsumoto Rengaku, who came over, immediately found Lu Yu. At the first sentence of the meeting, she asked curiously, "How much effort did you use just now?" 70%. Lu Yu opened his mouth and said an answer that sounded like the truth, but was utterly wrong. Strictly speaking, he didn't use 100% of his strength. He is not surprised that Matsumoto Rengaku sees his hidden strength. This is also what Lu Yu deliberately showed to others. He is obviously very powerful, but he tries his best to hide his power, so he needs to hide it all the time. Once discovered, it will almost be suspected of ulterior motives. But the way of clearly telling others that he has hidden his strength like Lu Yu, at best, is just to stay behind or give face to the teacher. If you really want to have any bad thoughts, it will not be so easy to be seen that you have hidden something. This wave of Lu Yu is on the 5th floor. Despite the mental preparation in his heart, Matsumoto Rengoku was still stunned, and the scenery in front of his chest was even more charming. She smiled and said, "You really gave my sister a big surprise. This time I listened to your words and came here with great sincerity." As far as Lu Yu's strength is concerned, as soon as he gets into the 10th team, he is a good player at work, and he goes to work without training. This is too beautiful. Looks like I have to thank Captain Shiba for his righteous action. Although the vice-captain's words were thought-provoking, Lu Yu's mind was clear. It's usually fine. He can relax, tease the boring child with this bold and beautiful blonde big sister, and enjoy the beautiful scenery by the way. But when it comes to business, Lu Yu doesn't get distracted. His mind was clear, and he was not in the slightest misled by Matsumoto Rengoku's weird words. Almost as soon as the other party spoke, Lu Yu knew exactly what Matsumoto Rengoku was referring to. "How did you know that?" Matsumoto Rengoku couldn't help being surprised when he heard Lu Yu's words. Why is this kid so well informed all of a sudden? No, is there someone who wants to cut off the who? Thinking of this, Matsumoto Rengoku's expression changed. After seeing through Matsumoto Rengoku's idea, Lu Yu did not use this as a bargaining chip to increase his weight, explaining. "I saw that the Tsunayashiro family had been silent, so I knew someone must be speaking for me. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to watch me take the monthly exam and increase my fame. After thinking about it, only Captain Shiba Ishin of the 10th Division has this weight, and it is necessary to speak for me." As he knew before, the conflict between Shiba's family and Tsunayashiro's family is not a secret. As long as you inquire carefully, it is not difficult to know. In addition, Shiba Ishin had not been the captain of the 10th Division for a few years, and it was at a time when manpower was urgently needed, so it was not difficult for Lu Yu to guess that the other party helped him to stop the Tsunayashiro family from attacking. Of course, Shiba Ishin couldn't save himself all the time for the sake of being reborn. After all, the 5 nobles are the same class. Even if some of the Shiba family's ideas make the other 4 families very dissatisfied, they will not tear their faces. Chapter 32. Are all of you geniuses so smart? Matsumoto Rengoku choked out such a sentence after half a day. As soon as I opened my mouth, I didn't say anything, and people analyzed so much, and they were all in. Matsumoto Rengoku has to wonder if he can't hide his thoughts in front of these geniuses. He is a transparent person. She was a little speechless. She was so strong, her talent was so good, she was young and smart. Dare to love any good things or peoples. Compared with this kid, why do I have such a strong sense of frustration? Just be a Shinigami. Do you want to roll like this? Lu Yu smiled without saying a word, and didn't dwell on this topic too much. Since you know everything, you should have guessed my purpose, right? Thinking of the purpose of this trip, Matsumoto Rengoku said with a look of anticipation. Lu Yu, join our 10th team. To be watched enthusiastically by such a blonde beauty with an angelic face and a devilish figure, a normal man would be heartbroken. At this moment, Lu Yu still gave Matsumoto Rengoku a very sober look. This face is very beautiful, very three-dimensional, but very friendly. It belongs to the type that has no dead ends at 360 degrees, and the more you look, the more attractive it is. So, Lu Yu smiled and nodded and said, "I'll keep my word. I really have to thank you for the Tsunayashiro family. Then I'll join your 10th division. Please give me more advice in the future." Great. Seeing that Lu Yu finally agreed, Matsumoto Rengoku jumped up happily, patted Lu Yu's shoulder and said, Hey, I can't teach you a genius like you. Let's leave it to our captain. By the way, the venue for the graduation assessment this time is in the present Karakura town. It will be held in 3 days. You have to be mentally prepared, and then you will have to face the virtual. If it's you, there should be no problem. The emptiness that appeared in the pre-assessment was only at the level of ordinary trash fish, and it did not threaten Lu Yu, who had the power of a chairperson. Lu Yu nodded and said directly, I'm sure there is no problem. Sure enough, it was similar to what he thought. This early graduation assessment was the best chance for him to complete the scheduled check-in. Matsumoto Rangaku added. But before that, you need to qualify for early graduation under the witness of the captain. I have to say that Grandpa Yamamoto has indeed softened a lot compared to the ghost-like killer in the past. In order to prevent the new generation of Shinigami from dying, the difficulty of the early graduation examination is much more difficult than before. After all, if you don't have enough strength, you may lose your life if you participate in the graduation assessment in advance. Graduation assessment is to face the virtual. This is not the usual petty trouble, it is really dead. The opponent is not an ordinary classmate and teacher, but a ferocious and terrifying virtual. Without a strong will, the moment he felt the inhuman Reiatsu, he would be afraid, and 10% of his strength would not be able to show even half of it. Therefore, when facing such a terrifying monster, one can see a person's character and potential more clearly. Participating in such an assessment, without absolute strength, is suicide. Therefore, it is necessary to obtain the qualification for early graduation under the witness of the captain. Seeing Lu Yu's calm appearance, Matsumoto Rangaku felt a lot more at ease, and replied. Tomorrow afternoon at Spiritual Arts Academy's main proving ground. The captain will be there at that time, so don't be under pressure. I definitely won't be under pressure. I'm afraid that those captains will be under pressure. You should worry about them. Lu Yu said outrageous words in a natural tone. Hearing this, Matsumoto Rangaku laughed and quivered. How can the captain be under pressure? Ha ha ha. You kid is really interesting. This kid said confidently that facing him, the captain should be under pressure, which is really funny. If it's not a joke, it can only be said that young people are still too knowledgeable. Matsumoto Rangaku shook his head inwardly at the thought of those powerful and monster-like captains. Impossible. Even with Lu Yu's talent, he wouldn't even want to be the captain in 100 years. After all, even that person has not yet become the captain. Just tell the truth. Lu Yu shrugged and glanced at Matsumoto Rangaku, who was smiling very boldly. Don't worry, after I become the captain, you will still be the vice captain, and even if you fish, you will not deduct your liquor money. Matsumoto Rangaku's strength is a little weaker, but Lu Yu's choice of vice captain is definitely not based on strength. In terms of strength, he is enough alone, so as long as he is eye-catching. The key is to trust it, otherwise it is better to leave it blank. From her previous words and deeds, Lu Yu knew that this blonde beauty had not been completely brainwashed by the Seraiti nobles. This man could be a good companion. When the matter was finalized, before leaving, Matsumoto Rangaku even persuaded Lu Yu. You'd better find a way to reconcile with Tsunayashiro's family. Although you joined the 10th division, they can't make it clear what they will do to you. But offending the Tsunayashiro family will still affect your future promotion. And you have to be more careful in the future. I'm afraid they will find trouble for you in the dark. It's good to make trouble. I'm afraid they won't trouble me. Lu Yu was still the same as before, with an extremely iron-clad look. Geniuses are so virtuous. Matsumoto Rangaku left briskly, thinking to himself, it doesn't matter if you don't obey now, you will come to Japan for a long time. After joining the squad, you will be fine. The Tsunayashiro family. After watching Matsumoto Rangaku leave, Lu Yu repeated these words with a slightly meaningful smile. Matsumoto Rangaku certainly didn't expect that Lu Yu's final answer was 100% sincere. The Tsunayashiro family would not have thought that before they could find Lu Yu, a daring kid, Lu Yu would find them first. There is no way, feeling the guilt. Who would have thought that a Spiritual Arts Academy reincarnation would dare to miss the ancestral artifacts of the Tsunayashiro family? This is not a small third-rate noble, but the 5 famous nobles of the Soul Society. It's just that Lu Yu has set goals and made plans. Lu Yu, who has a firm goal, has long thought of his future path. First, he will go to the world to check in at a fixed point to obtain the perfect shikai. After that, Lu Yu will use the power of the perfect shikai to analyze the mystery of the sword intent of the complete Yanluo secret tome. And use this as a fulcrum to completely capture the divine power of Yanluo Jingdian. He wasn't ready to give up halfway. One is that Lu Yu does not have the habit of giving up halfway, and the other is that he is determined to obtain the power of Yanluo Jingdian. In the three realms, in addition to the characters and powers that appeared in the original work, there must be other powers that can achieve immortality. However, far can't quench near thirst. Since the road is in front of you, there is no reason not to go. And others see Tsunayashiro's family as terrifying. In Lu Yu's view, this huge family is a soft persimmon. If someone from Tsunayashiro's family found out about Lu Yu's thoughts, he would definitely be half-hearted. I am the 5 noble Seraiti nobles, who control the history of the Great Spirit Book Corridor and the Soul Society, and have many Shinigami subordinates. Lu Yu, are you polite? Chapter 33. So far, regardless of the opponent, Lu Yu's plan has gone smoothly. It's just that it won't go on like this all the time. After all, his opponent is the Tsunayashiro family of the Millennium family. As one of the 5 nobles of the Soul Society who have controlled the Great Spirit Book Corridor for generations, the opponent must have a lot of trump cards. Lu Yu guessed that in this pre-assessment of his own, someone would inevitably make a fool of himself. Even if the Tsunayashiro clan really turned their backs on evil, the ambitious Captain Aizen would not miss this good opportunity. In this regard, Lu Yu has nothing to do with it. Instead, he hopes that these people can come up with some new tricks. His confidence comes from the super punching system and the omnipotence that can perfect Shikai right away. Moreover, Lu Yu does not necessarily have to face the Tsunayashiro family alone. On the densely vegetated hill, Lu Yu glanced at the direction of the 5th Division's quarters with deep eyes. Aizen Sosuke, you have always been interested in the Great Spirit Book Cloister. In this case, your power can also be owned by me. The decadent and arrogant Tsunayashiro family is destined to be just a small stepping stone on my road to immortality. After thinking about it, Lu Yu came to the number 20 practice ground. Here, Hitsugaya Toshiro is earnestly practicing kendo. At this point, he has a very strong level of control over Zanpakuto and his own Reiatsu. Unless you are very close to this silver-haired genius, you will not feel that biting chill. Hinamori Momo was a little absent-minded. When he saw Lu Yu coming, he showed a big smile and used Shunpo to run over to greet him. Xiao Dao, yes, your Shunpo has improved a lot than before, and the average 4 or 5 rebirths can't compare to you. One look at Hinamori Momo's Shunpo, and Lu Yu complimented him. It's not worth the effort he put into it. The strength of the two good friends has indeed improved a lot. In the future, the enemies they will face are very pervert, and it is not enough if they are not stronger. Because Lu Yu has been practicing with me, I will become stronger. At this time, Hinamori Momo was very excited and very happy. She was excited that Lu Yu had great power. Of course, what Hinamori Momo cares about is that even though Lu Yu's reputation is resounding throughout Seraiti, he has not become estranged from them. From time to time, Lu Yu would take his precious time to practice and teach them some precious experience skills that were not in the books. Some of these skill experiences, Hitsugaya Toshiro and Hinamori Momo thought were beyond the knowledge imparted by the teachers of Spiritual Arts Academy. Not to mention, Lu Yu also showed great talent in helping them sort out Reiatsu. Even without these benefits, as long as the time with Lu Yu is a happy time. Looking at Lu Yu, who is more elegant now, Hinamori Momo remembered the scene of talking with Lu Yu in the yard before. At that time, Shi-Ishin thought that if Lu Yu could unite Reiatsu, it would be great to join Spiritual Arts Academy. Other than that, Hinamori Momo couldn't ask for anything else. But it's different now. She wants more and wants to never be separated from Lu Yu. Hitsugaya Toshiro is small, but his observation and thinking skills are no worse than his peers. He walked up to the two of them, looked at Lu Yu and asked worriedly, "Are you going to be Shinigami?" "Yeah, it has been decided. After passing the examination tomorrow, I will take the graduation examination." Lu Yu looked relaxed, obviously not taking the graduation exam that made ordinary 6th-generation students risk their lives. Hearing Lu Yu's answer, Hinamori Momo was overjoyed at first, then a little depressed. "I heard that the assessment is very dangerous." She was a little worried. Because after Lu Yu became Shinigami, their chances to meet are not many. What disturbed her most was that it was said that during the graduation assessment, they would be asked to fight Shu. Those are terrible monsters that can eat people, and the thought of Lu Yu fighting against such a monster made Hinamori Momo nervous. Hitsugaya Toshiro on the side was also a little worried. He knew that it was not only dangerous during the assessment, but in fact, it was even more dangerous after successfully graduating. Shinigami originally wanted to slay the void and eliminate demons. The stronger the strength, the higher the position, the greater the responsibility, and the more terrifying the enemy faced. This is the destiny and vocation of Shinigami. Lu Yu naturally knew what the two were worried about and comforted. After all, it's just an assessment, where can it be dangerous? And even if I become Shinigami, I'm still in Seraiti, and we can see each other often. After he finished speaking, he changed the subject and said, besides, with your strength, will you never be able to graduate? I will wait for you all the time, but don't make me wait too long. I'll graduate now, and I'll be able to surpass you right away. Hitsugaya Toshiro was anxious. That's right, with Lu Yu's strength, there's actually nothing to worry about. On the contrary, if they progress too slowly, they may not be able to catch up with Lu Yu's footsteps. Absolutely not. Hinamori Momo also clenched Bai Shengsheng's small fist and kept nodding. I will become a Shinigami as soon as possible, and then join a team with Lu Yu. Then let's start practicing. Lu Yu shared all of Asito's insights on the 4 major techniques of Shinigami with a smile. These two people are astonishingly savvy, and they continue to absorb that knowledge at an astonishing speed. After digesting these precious advanced knowledge, their strength will definitely become stronger. To know those skills of Asito, although it is very simple and a basic summary, as long as the master is the level of the officer. And it's the kind of officer who is extremely capable of actual combat, not the Yamada Hanadoro-style officer of the 4th Division. During the process, Lu Yu also used Sen Luo Wanxiang to assist the two in their cultivation, and controlled them to control Reiatsu to experience a higher level of Zonquan Ghost Walk. Otherwise, although the two are very talented, it is impossible for them to progress so fast. While helping the two to practice, Lu Yu became more and more proficient and diligent with the master of all kinds of things. Hinamori Momo and Hitsugaya Toshiro also marveled at Lu Yu's strength. Those experience and skills are definitely not mastered by people of their realm, and it looks like many Manos Grandes have fought. I really don't know where Lu Yu got these precious experiences from. When asked, Lu Yu just smiled mysteriously. In this regard, the two did not get to the bottom of it. Anyway, Lu Yu couldn't hurt them no matter what. After the practice, the 3 of them came to the cafeteria talking and laughing. Lu Yu and Hitsugaya Toshiro were treated as geniuses and ate first-class meals, the so-called aristocratic meals. On the surface, students at Spiritual Arts Academy are all equal, but discriminatory language and rules are everywhere. Hinamori Momo followed suit, and ate a luxurious meal that only 6 students who were about to graduate could eat. Hitsugaya Toshiro alone may not have this face yet. Lu Yu came forward, let alone 1 more, even 10 more would be fine. The chef in charge has a smile on his face, his wrist is very steady, and each serving is full of weight, and he does not dare to neglect in the slightest. Nonsense, they can't even offend the Tsunayashiro family. In the face of Lu Yu who violently beat up the 2 members of Tsunayashiro, they naturally dared not offend. Hinamori Momo whispered. They seem to be a little afraid of us, and we don't have to queue. It's normal, strength is the only and absolute privilege. Lu Yu smiled. After the assessment, he is an official Shinigami, and he should be able to directly become a chairperson. In the entire Seraiti, it is considered a privileged class, and it is respected wherever it goes. That's the benefit of power and fame. Chapter 34. For Hitsugaya Toshiro, who grew up with a strong Reiatsu, eating is both happiness and misfortune. I feel happy when I'm full, but if I eat too much, my family will be burdened, so I will become unhappy. After coming to Spiritual Arts Academy with Lu Yu, Hitsugaya Toshiro no longer had such concerns. In addition to being able to eat enough, he was very grateful for Lu Yu's reminder in his heart. Hitsugaya Toshiro will definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life if his grandma is really in trouble because of his Reiatsu. Good time. Hinamori Momo squinted and tasted the cake that Lu Yu specially selected for her, only to feel sweet and delicious, very soft and glutinous. Lu Yu was also very happy to eat. This meal, the 3 people spent a month on the consumption of ordinary Seraiti civilians. Therefore, Lu Yu felt that it was right for him to choose to join Gote 13, which was too expensive. After all, in theory, the stronger the Reiatsu, the better. Even if he could withdraw Seraites currency, it was still very unpleasant to spend. If you become a chairperson or captain, the salary alone will be enough, and maybe you can also corrupt and consume public funds. Lu Yu knew that this was a hidden way for nobles to control Shinigami. Just like the daimyo next door controls the military spending of the major villages, it is somewhat a means of restriction. The high welfare of the officers and captains is also an important reason for attracting many Shinigami to join. Banknote ability is a manifestation of the strength of the major nobles. Just as Lu Yu was thinking about how to pick up Seraites' wool after becoming the captain, a crisp and energetic voice came over. Hello classmates, my name is Rukia Kuchiki and I'm a friend of Abarai Renji. It's a pleasure to meet you. When Lu Yu looked up, he couldn't help but laugh. Isn't this Soul Society Van Gogh? This black-haired girl with a delicate face was looking at Lu Yu and the others with her big black eyes. Just by looking at those big, flattering eyes, Lu Yu knew that this was indeed the Rukia Kuchiki he remembered. This beautiful girl is also the future officer of the 13th Division. She is a very attractive woman, understanding, strong and powerful, and her painting art is very advanced. The first hand is just as vivid and lifelike as the painting. Of course, this so-called future refers to the beginning of the plot. By the end of the Millennium Blood War, Rukia Kuchiki had become the captain, and his Zanpakuto Soda no Shirayuki was called the most beautiful Zanpakuto. You know me. Noticing Lu Yu's expression, Rukia Kuchiki felt a little strange in her heart. This should be the first time the two have met, and how does it feel that this idol is thinking something rude? No, I'm just amazed at the beauty of Miss Kuchiki. After speaking, Lu Yu introduced himself. My name is Lu Yu, and it's a pleasure to meet Miss Kuchiki. Hinamori Momo and Hitsugaya Toshiro also introduced. Lu Yu, just call me Rukia, I'm here for you this time. Ignoring Hinamori Momo's wary eyes, Rukia Kuchiki bowed very seriously. Your strength and talent are obvious to all. Even if you take the assessment now, you can graduate immediately. I hope you will consider joining the 6th Division. The captain of the 6th Division is my big brother. He is a very reliable and strong captain. I am here to extend a formal invitation to you on his behalf. Rukia Kuchiki, who consciously received the favor of the Kuchiki family, is grateful. This Seraites' top-notch celebrity family really raised her as a daughter. Although the adopted brother Byakuya Kuchiki seems to be dissatisfied with himself and looks very cold, but Rukia feels that he should do something for the family and the big brother. Moreover, before, she willfully rejected her elder brother's good intentions, and did not join the 13th Division and become a chairperson according to the others' wishes. For this, Rukia is also apologetic. That's why she thought of asking Lu Yu to join her big brother's squad. Before coming, Rukia asked Byakuya Kuchiki what he thought. This unsmiling, strict self-disciplined big brother, very optimistic about Lu Yu, agreed to the request. After hearing Rukia Kuchiki's words, Hitsugaya Toshiro secretly felt happy for Lu Yu in his heart. At the same time, there was a sense of urgency in his heart. In the heart of today's silver-haired little boy, Hinamori Momo is a very close sister. Lu Yu is a very reliable and powerful big brother. He cherishes the friendship with the two and longs for Lu Yu's approval. He hopes to help Lu Yu and repay his kindness in the future. Therefore, Hitsugaya Toshiro decided to double the amount of training when he went back. Hinamori Momo is also very proud to hear that Lu Yu has been invited by a captain-level figure without any reference. She has already planned to improve her strength as soon as possible, and then work with Lu Yu in the same squad. It is her dream to be a Shinigami and protect Seraite and her loved ones. It's a blessing to be able to realize your dreams with the people you care about the most. After thinking about it for a while, Lu Yu shied away. I'm sorry, I have already promised other teams before. I can only appreciate your kindness and kindness. The 6th team was the last one he wanted to go to, followed by the 1st team and the 5th team. There is no other reason. The captains of the 6th team and the 1st team are all old-fashioned and very boring. Moreover, one of the two captains is backed by the family, and the other is extremely strong. It is very difficult for Lu Yu to replace. The reason why he didn't want to go to Team 5 was simply that he was too lazy to use his brain, and he didn't want to be so tired. Although it should be fun to fight wits and bravery with Aizen, but if you can push it flat, you can play with your heart. Lu Yu still prefers to use his strength to crush him rather than his wits and calculations. He also has the qualification and confidence to do so. Being politely rejected by the idol, Rukia was not discouraged, and said seriously, "In this case, I also want to be friends with Your Excellency Lu Yu. I admire your courage and strength. No, no, just call me Lu Yu." Lu Yu waved his hands again and again. In fact, he can understand part of Rukia Kuchiki's mentality. In this era, the dominance of the nobles is still at its peak, and its influence extends to the entire Seoul society. The majesty and power of the nobles are deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Rukia Kuchiki, who was born in Rukongai, should have a deep feeling for this. Lu Yu dared to resist this kind of power every single one of his life, and his courage is commendable. However, in pursuit of immortal power, this rebel pioneer, Lu Yu was determined. Anyway, he was originally disliked by those nobles. Hinamori Momo was also a little surprised. "Miss Kuchiki is so polite. I thought that the so-called nobles are just like Tsunayashiro, so rude and violent." Hitsugaya Toshiro also nodded. As far as most of the nobles he knew, he could only say that it was okay, but Tsunayashiro, the 5 nobles, was really annoying. The Kuchiki family is also one of the 5 nobles, but its eldest lady has no air and is very polite. It seems that nobility and nobility are also different. Then, at the invitation of Lu Yu, Rukia Kuchiki sat down happily and chatted with several people. At this time, her mood is the same as that of fans getting close to idols, and she has a dreamy sense of success in chasing dreams. I have to say that Rukia Kuchiki's appeal is still very strong. Soon, she became acquainted with Hitsugaya Toshiro and Hinamori Momo. She is not lacking in aristocratic temperament, but her words are very lively and cheerful, and there is no lack of cuteness and tenderness unique to girls. Who wouldn't love a girl like this? During the conversation, Rukia Kuchiki did not shy away from telling that he was originally a refugee from Rukongai just like them, and was adopted by the Kuchiki family to become a noble. "I am not a very talented person. Thanks to my eldest brother and father, I can continue to study at Spiritual Arts Academy." Rukia Kuchiki is very humble. Heroes don't ask where they came from. Lu Yu saw that Rukia Kuchiki felt a little bit of a nod, and persuaded, Rukongai's relatives also recognize each other, and their feelings are just as good. It's nothing. He knew that the cheerful Rukia Kuchiki was actually very emotional and serious. To put it bluntly, it is a confession of death. Maybe in her opinion, since she is so valued by others, she must give back to equivalent performance. This invisibly put a lot of pressure on herself. But in fact, whether it is the mutual recognition of kinship by the residents of Rukongai or the adoption of Rukia by the Kuchiki family, it is because of feelings, not because of strength. Rukia Kuchiki didn't realize it because he attached too much importance to feelings. Really a very nice girl. After hearing Lu Yu's consolation, Rukia Kuchiki also got a lot of energy, bowed her head and saluted. "Yes, Lu Yu is right, I will listen to you." It's not that she doesn't have her own ideas, nor is she covetous for glory and wealth. It's just about Kuchiki's house. Rukia Kuchiki is really a fan of the authorities and doesn't know how to choose. On the one hand, Rukia Kuchiki is thinking about maintaining her independence. On the other hand, the situation is stronger than people, and neither emotion nor reality seems to allow her to make a willful choice. If it weren't for Lu Yu's encouragement, she would have been obediently arranged by the family. Therefore, Rukia Kuchiki is very grateful to Lu Yu for giving her the courage to insist on being herself. After the chat was over, Rukia Kuchiki made an agreement with them to meet on a daily basis, and then left gracefully. In the simple and elegant Kuchiki mansion, Rukia, who had just returned, said a little embarrassed, "Brother, I'm sorry, I'm late, and a team has already agreed with him in advance." "Really? I see." Byakuya Kuchiki, who was wearing a star pincer and had a cold face, nodded and didn't say much. After watching Byakuya Kuchiki leave, Rukia Kuchiki breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking of what Lu Yu said before, he thought to himself, maybe I really thought too much before, and feelings are the most important thing. She had always acted cautiously before, for fear of losing the face of the Kuchiki family and living up to their love. In fact, this is not fully integrated performance. Now, Rukia Kuchiki wants to change a little. This time, she wants to have the powerful strength and noble character of Lu Yu, and win glory for the family. When night came, Lu Yu didn't rush to check in, considering that he might meet new plot characters tomorrow, and he was still a big boss. However, he also guessed that most of the charge this time will not be fruitful. After playing so many times, Lu Yu also has a full understanding of the mechanism of the super punching system. In fact, this interaction is useless by unilateral touching porcelain, and it must have enough weight in people's hearts in order to improve the level of the prize. It's not quite the interaction he understands. Originally, Lu Yu was thinking about waiting for his strength to become stronger, so he would have nothing to do with those hot-tempered fighters. Wouldn't the interaction strength increase? It turned out not to be the case at all. This actually requires a degree of favorability or recognition. If these two aspects are not up to standard, no matter how much interaction there is, it will be in vain. It is very likely that it is difficult for him to fully enter the team's eyes now. It is too difficult to increase the reward level by interacting with them. Fortunately, Lu Yu and Hitsugaya Toshiro and Hinamori Momo are doing well, otherwise the reward will definitely shrink a lot. It's too difficult to drill holes in this thing, and it can only be operated slowly, not in a hurry. Fortunately, the people in the Shinigami world are relatively simple. As long as Lu Yu's strength and fame come up, this favorable interaction will be easier to brush. This fixed point punch card function can be put to good use. In Lu Yu's understanding, this is a bit like the mainline reward in the game. It is not difficult to obtain, the reward is not low, and the price-performance ratio is too high. These rewards must be obtained, and the sooner you get them, the better. In this way, you can quickly increase your strength like a snowball. When he woke up, Lu Yu came to the Spiritual Arts Academy to study and research as usual. He was not disrupted by the upcoming graduation exam. Although the books borrowed here can only learn some basic things, it is enough for Lu Yu to learn for a while. As for the advanced knowledge behind, you need to join Gote 13 to learn. As for the knowledge that is close to the taboo, you need to see it in the Great Spirit Book corridor. Unless he is a member of the Tsunayashiro clan or a top noble, normally Shinigami will not have access to this knowledge even if he is the captain. Fortunately, Lu Yu was lucky enough to get Isito's mushroom manual. These days, relying on those skills summary, Lu Yu has fully upgraded the realm of Zongquan Ghost Walk to the Grandmaster level, that is, the category of masters who can only be an officer. Needless to say, Kendo and Shunpo are definitely at the level of the previous officials. In terms of Kido, except for the advanced Kido not included in the Spiritual Arts Academy, the other Luyas are almost masters. I mastered Kido number 60 in just over a month after entering school. This rate of progress is no less than that of the elites in the Kido department. In the afternoon, Lu Yu left the spiritual library. This time, instead of going to the number 20 practice ground as usual, he came to the main assessment venue of Spiritual Arts Academy early. After waiting for a while, Lu Yu felt two Reiatsu who were clearly different from ordinary people. Although the two of them hid the terrifying Reiatsu very well, Lu Yu, who has been making rapid progress recently, still felt the terrifying Reiatsu and momentum. This kind of power, ordinary Shinigami will foam at the head and fall to the ground just by feeling it, just like being hit by conquerors. Just vaguely feeling the tip of the iceberg made Lu Yu's body shake, and almost inspired all the power to fight against it. If this terrifying Reiatsu were completely leaked, the entire Seraiti would be shaken and shocked. The incoming Reiatsu can almost let Lu Yu's Reiatsu fight on his own, no need to ask, this must be captain level. Lu Yu took a deep breath and restrained his breath more carefully. Sure enough, two people in the group looked up at Lu Yu keenly. When Lu Yu was investigating the situation here, his own Reiatsu was also sensed by the two. The captain level boss is really not easy to fool. Lu Yu couldn't help but wonder, will my true strength be discovered? In the face of captain-level characters, is the absolutely hidden talent really foolproof? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.